When I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning that night, I thought, this is it. I'm going to die. I mean, there's sweat is just pouring off my face. My heart feels like it's going to blow right out of my chest. And I'm thinking, this is what it feels like when it's the end. I remember getting up and going in the bathroom. I'd never done that in the middle of the night before, and washing my face with cold water, trying to calm myself down. Eventually went back and laid down, but nothing would settle down. I just laid there till sunup and tried to make it to work the next day, but it didn't work out. I ended up that night in the emergency room at the hospital. My legs were convulsing in a way that I couldn't control. My whole face was numb. My arm was numb. And I thought, this is it. Then my life is going to end right here and right now. Long story short, and what happened that night was I started in a tunnel of having what I think you would call a nervous breakdown. I think we put better words on it today. We say I'm having a panic attack or an anxiety disorder of some kind. But my nervous system that night started melting down. And my mind started telling my body things that weren't true. I started having symptoms that didn't exist. And I went into a tunnel. I mean, a dark, long tunnel where for months I was incapacitated. I wasn't working. I wasn't functioning. I thought every day, because I had some new symptom going on in my body, that I was dying of a different cause every day. I was going to one doctor after the other, having this test and that test. And in my mind, I'm thinking there's so much wrong with me, but doctors kept saying, there's nothing wrong. This checks out. Everything's okay. But it turns out I had a symptom that even has a name for it, and that's the fear of death syndrome. And I entered into a place that was so dark, so frustrating, so debilitating that I didn't know what to do. I remember the nights more than anything, because the days you could almost manage, but at the nighttime you knew 2 o'clock's coming, 3 o'clock's coming, and I'm going to be awake again. My heart's going to beat crazy again. I'm going to look up and see that cloud of doom just pressing down on me again, feeling like it's just going to snuff me out, suffocate me. But I remember 3 months in, laying in bed one night and just staring up into the dark. My wife was asleep beside me, and I just thought to myself, God, you got to help me. I'd believed in God all my life. I'd sung all the songs. I'd been ministering and preaching and teaching all my life. And in this moment, it was just a plea. God, if you're there, I need you to help me. And I just remember feeble, just lifting my hands up into the sky and saying, God, you've got to bring me out of this. If you don't do something, I'm not going to make it. I needed a comeback, and only God could do it. You know, my story was about a nervous system meltdown, a mental meltdown, if you will, that really knocked me out and incapacitated me for a season of life. Maybe for you, it was a financial cloud, a financial pressure, debt that you felt like was going to suffocate you. Maybe it was the loss of someone that you loved, and it was that long journey through that valley of the shadow of death that maybe you're still in the middle of it even right now. Maybe it was a relationship that fell apart, somebody that just disappeared from your story. Circumstances that you didn't ask for, you can't control, and you don't know what to do about right now. Maybe it's a diagnosis, a disease, an illness. Who knows? Some kind of addiction is in your world. Maybe something has got a grip on you, and if God doesn't intervene, it's going to take you down and take you out. And what we're celebrating in these days is not my comeback story, really, and really not your comeback story. We're celebrating the God of all the comeback stories, because we are Jesus people, and Jesus people have at that core the greatest comeback of all. And that's the moment that Jesus himself was raised up out of death, out of hell, out of the grave, out of the darkness, into everlasting life. And today we're starting with one which is one of the great comeback stories of all time. Because this guy was in his 80s when he got a second chance at life. I don't know if you know much about the story of Moses, the Old Testament Moses. And God spoke to Moses out of that bush. And God called Moses out of that place into a great calling. He said, Moses, I want you to lead my people. I hear their cries. I see their oppression. I want you to go to Pharaoh, and I want you to be the one that leads my people out of bondage and into the promised land that I have already told their forefathers I'm going to give to them. Well, Moses, of course, did exactly what we would do again. He thought of all the reasons why he was the wrong guy for the job. But God wasn't picking Moses because he was the right guy. He was picking Moses because he was the right God. And he was able to use anyone who would submit their lives to his plans and purposes and let him unfold his comeback story in their life. And so I don't know about you, but sometimes I think when we start talking about comebacks, can my marriage be put back together? Can my business have a comeback story? Can I get back in my right mind? Can I have my heart restored? Can this brokenness that's in me be repaired again? I think sometimes we do like Moses and we say, wrong guy, not going to happen. Too much has happened in the past. I've done too much. I've gone too far. I don't think it's going to work out. And God always is interjecting into the story. And he's saying, wait, I am that I am. I'm the great and awesome God. I'm the one who has the power to change. And I think whoever we are, whoever you are, and I know where I was in that dark night of the soul in 2008 in my life, I know that it was only God's power that was going to change my story. Even on the backside of nowhere, at the very last chapter of life, God had a plan and a purpose for Moses. What does Moses show us? It shows us that God sees us where we are. He will find you on the backside of a mountain in the middle of the desert in your 80s, tending the sheep, and with one bush, he will light up a message for you. And he will speak out of your circumstances and say, it's not too late. I see you. And I'm the God who can restart the story right here and right now. And so we've got to believe that. You've got to believe that. I've got to believe that wherever we are, God is present. He is with us. That night for me, kind of the breaking point night for me, I remember just looking up and saying, God, you got to help. You got to help me. And something completely unexpected happened. I started singing a song. Not a song I'd ever sung before. Just a melody came to me, and it wasn't anything profound. It was just a word of praise to God. And I just started whispering it in my mouth. And I was just saying to God, I can't see you, but I'm going to praise you. I can't sense you, but I'm going to praise you. I don't see a way out, but I'm going to praise you. I don't have anything else to do right now, so I'm going to praise you. The next day, I went to bed, and 2 o'clock came all over again. But when the cloud came that night, I already had a song. And I sang my song to God again that night. And I sang it the next night. And I sang it the next night. And every night when I would go to sleep, I would think, that cloud's coming. But when that cloud comes, I got a song. I don't want the cloud to come, but if it comes tonight, I've got a song. And that little song began to lead me out. And God, through that little song, began to lead me out. And he led me back into the land of the living. He led me back to a normal place, a place that honestly, no trauma, I didn't think I would ever get back to again. And maybe that's you. So whatever comeback you're hoping for, I believe God is working right now. For whatever comeback you're praying for in the life of somebody else, God is hearing your prayers even now, because he is the God of the comeback.